Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online. Now, it's a strike that's already cost Hollywood millions of dollars. And that amount could ultimately end up in the billions amid a protracted standoff between screenwriters and major film studios.
Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back!
More than 11,500 writers put down their pens more than a week ago after negotiations over better pay and work conditions reached an impasse. And as the writers continue to picket outside film sets and studios, some shows have already been forced to halt productions. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but the next season of your favorite TV show could be out much later than expected.
George R.R. Martin announced that he has paused the writers' room for the Game of Thrones spin-off The Hedge Knight, which adds to the list of major shows that have already shut down, including Hacks. Hannah Einbinder was even spotted on the picket line. Netflix's Golden Goose, Stranger Things. The Duffers shutting down production is a huge deal, and it's the kind of thing that will move the needle in this strike. Also over the weekend, the MTV Movie and TV Awards moved from a live event to a pre-tape. This decision came after not only the host Drew Barrymore publicly pulled out of the event, but the WGA announced their plans to picket the live event, and several celebrities, including Jennifer Aniston, announced that they would not cross the picket line.
Interestingly, the screenwriters are also striking against artificial intelligence. Now, AI chatbots may not have the ability to write the finale of your favorite show just yet, but there are no restrictions stopping film studios from getting a helping hand from AI either. The Writers Guild of America wants studios like Netflix and Disney to regulate the use of AI in the industry so that studios can't get ChatGPT to draft a show and then hire a writer to fine-tune it. This is the US's first union strike against AI potentially replacing workers. Any gains by the Writers Guild could set a powerful precedent for people in all industries globally.
When you have vice presidents of global streaming companies saying, I don't believe in quality, then maybe it doesn't matter that an AI can't do something as smart or creative as a person, as long as it can crank out the pages.
It takes away not just the heart and soul of what writing is, what our craft is, what our art is, but it also takes away literal food from our mouth.
One of the points that we have is that we got to be clear that whatever AI is being used as a tool, but they didn't want to talk about that.
And what they told us was that we'll talk about it once a year. We'll talk about how AI is integrated into the industry. Just like, hey, once a year we'll update you on how many of you we've replaced with machines.
One thing AI can't replace just yet is how important screenwriters are during the filming process itself. Now, writers' jobs don't end when the script is done. They're actually crucial on set, making last-minute changes while filming. That's why a lot of fans are worried about the future of their favorite shows right now. The last writers' strike in 2007 exceeded 100 days, impacted the quality of many shows and films, and cost the industry $3 billion in today's value.
When the last writer's strike began in 2007, late-night talk shows quickly started airing reruns just like they are now. Some late-night hosts did go back on the air without writers, which led to time-filler bits like Conan O'Brien seeing how long he could spin his wedding ring on his desk, highlighting how shows aren't the same without their writers. As for dramas and sitcoms, it was the season of lost episodes and hasty plot lines. Heroes was slashed from a planned 24 episodes in season 2 to just 11 and had to cut entire storylines, which some say the show never recovered from. The fourth season of Lost wound up with 14 episodes instead of its planned 16, and the writers even put a cliffhanger in the 8th episode just in case that had to be the end of the season. The Office went from 30 episodes to 19, 30 Rock from 22 to 15, and Breaking Bad, in the middle of its first season, went from 9 to 7.
AI may not have killed writing jobs just yet, but it's certainly stolen the metaverse's thunder. Now, some believe Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, and by extension tech giant Meta, is on its last legs. Others say the metaverse is a project beyond Zuckerberg's virtual world. A recent article by Business Insider rekindled this discussion.
The lack of quality graphics and poor design was the subject of brutal criticism on Twitter. On top of the bad graphics and questionable avatar designs, Meta set the price of their VR headsets at a staggeringly high price tag. At launch in 2022, the Quest 2 headset was priced at $1,500. Both of these factors, among many others, play into the reason why the target number of users was drastically lower than the initial target set by Zuckerberg and his VR division. Meta had set their sights on having 500,000 monthly users on the platform by the end of 2022. However, they only were able to acquire less than 300,000 monthly users at the deadline. missing their target by a long shot. Most likely due to the lack of users and traction.
Some valid points there, but I'd still hold off on posting an obituary for Zuckerberg's metaverse, seeing as Web3 at large is experiencing a boom. And one company riding that Web3 wave by ironically being a clothing brand that doesn't sell any actual clothes. Sounds a bit like the folktale The Emperor's New Clothes, right? But I can assure you those buying creations from fashion brand The Fabricant aren't purchasing invisible clothes. In fact, the brand says it's selling the ultimate couture experience. The catch? You can only wear its designs in the metaverse. Sarah reports.
What would you wear in the metaverse? The options are limitless. You can break fashion rules and wear clothes that seemingly defy gravity. And it's with designs like this that Dutch fashion house The Fabricant is elevating the Web3 experience. Niall Cottrell is one of the designers behind The Fabricant's boundary-pushing looks. After working for renowned brands like LVMH, Versace, and Alexander McQueen, he decided to trade in his sewing kit and scissors for a laptop and mouse.
When you work in physical fashion, you're constantly surrounded by physical objects. You know, you have fabrics next to you, you need a space to work in, you have this kind of physical requirement to a space. Whereas when I work digitally, I could take my laptop, I could fly to America, I could work there for a week, I could stay there, I could go to somewhere else in the world and work from there. So it gives me a certain freedom and flexibility that I quite like.
Founded in 2018, The Fabricant is the world's first digital-only fashion house. It's created digital collections for brands like Adidas, Timberland, and Off-White, just to name a few. And visitors at Amsterdam's Next Museum are having a blast trying on new styles.
I find it very, very interesting and exciting. It is something new, and I think it's good for the fashion industry to shake it up a little bit.
Aside from kitting out metaverse avatars, The Fabricant has a vision of making the traditional fashion industry more eco-friendly. The company says its virtual reality platform could be something adopted by big brands. Customers would be able to try on clothes virtually, meaning fewer pieces need to be manufactured in the physical world.
There's a big problem with the physical fashion industry where actually a lot of the clothing ends up in landfills. Now, digital fashion can come into play with that because we can start generating data of how many items, how many physical items we can be creating for physical fashion brands. So they're not constantly creating an abundant amount of physical clothing that just gets thrown away.
I believe that the next 2 years are going to be the phase where more and more people outside of the Web3, outside of the technical understanding and the excitement about the technology, will be adopting digital fashion in their daily lives.
And as mainstream adoption of digital fashions picks up, the leading Web3 couture house says it'll continue to let its creative spirit run wild with drops that push the boundaries of imagination.
Now, it seems we're being introduced to a new virtual influencer every day now. But have you ever met one that's 538 years old? Well, you might easily recognize her from somewhere. Yep, that's Sandra Botticelli's Venus, but reborn as a virtual influencer. It looks like she's escaped from her usual spot in the Uffizi Gallery, dressed up in some trendy clothes, and started traveling throughout the boot of Italy. She's been sighted in all sorts of places around Italy, and you can follow her adventures on her Instagram account, aptly named Venera Italia 23.
Ciao a tutti, il mio nome è Venere, ma probabilmente questo lo sapete già.
It's all part of an initiative to bolster tourism. Italy's tourism ministry is trying to spice things up with a new marketing campaign to attract more visitors. And we can say that the campaign has gotten a lot of attention, just not in the way the government had imagined. Venus, the influencer, has quickly turned into a meme and is now facing backlash from some unhappy locals.
The campaign, which cost over 9 million euros and didn't even bother to hire a real human artist, used AI to generate these images that Italian Instagram commenters are calling offensive and cringeworthy. With one user saying the centrifugal force with which Botticelli is turning in his grave would be enough to produce the energy to illuminate the entire country for years to come. But that's not even the most controversial part of it. One Italian newspaper noticed that stock footage that they used is actually from a wine cellar in Slovenia, not even Italy. The mayor of Florence, who's been in the spotlight a lot recently, joined in the criticism against the campaign, saying we're fighting against commercial exploitation that ridicules our artistic jewels.
The picture from Slovenia wasn't the only stock image used in the Venus tourism campaign. In fact, all of the Renaissance icons' outfits were created by simply editing Venus's head atop the getup. Given that this whole campaign cost the Italian government a whopping $10 million, I wonder what the 10 mil was actually spent on. Regardless, the creators say that Venus represents Italy's tourism sector bouncing back after the pandemic, a symbol of rebirth and renewal, if you will. And despite all the drama, they seem to be taking the all press is good press approach. But maybe next time they will think twice before using stock photos and AI. Some other stories that might pique your interest now. A New York jury found that former U.S. President Donald Trump was liable for sexually abusing a magazine columnist in the 1990s. It's the first time he's been found legally responsible for sexual misconduct. After less than 3 hours of deliberation, the jury found that Trump was responsible for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll in the dressing room of a department store. However, he was not found liable of rape. Carroll has been awarded $5 million in damages. Trump did not attend the trial and waived his right to defend himself, but that didn't stop him from taking to his own platform, Truth Social, denying that he knew Carroll and calling the verdict the continuation of a witch hunt. Tucker Carlson, the guy who was fired from Fox News a fortnight ago, is relaunching his show on Twitter. Carlson is immensely influential in conservative circles and, by extension, the Republican Party. And more than 3 million viewers would tune in for his primetime show on Fox News. Twitter CEO Elon Musk has welcomed the announcement but said no deal was signed with the host, and Tucker will have to follow the same rules as everyone else on the platform. We still don't know when Carlson's show will launch, though he says his channel will use Twitter the way it was intended to be used.
Twitter has long served as the place where our national conversation incubates and develops. Twitter is not a partisan site. Everybody's allowed here, and we think that's a good thing. And yet, for the most part, the news that you see analyzed on Twitter comes from media organizations that are themselves thinly disguised propaganda outlets. You see it on cable news, you talk about it on Twitter. The result may feel like a debate, but actually the gatekeepers are still in charge. We think that's a bad system. We know exactly how it works, and we're sick of it.
And on to another newsmaker now. The BBC is leading the drive into mobile broadcasting, with journalists Kate Vandy and Anna Holligan steering us into greener times. They've spent the past 2 years creating a bike bureau, a two-wheel news broadcast studio. It is solar-powered, has everything that's needed for live TV and radio transmissions, and they connect to the world using a mobile phone. The pair can be seen riding around and reporting from the ever-so-bike-friendly Netherlands.
Using this bike is revolutionizing what we can do, how long we can do it for, and allows us to take you to the heart of breaking news in a climate-conscious way.
Correspondent Anna Holligan is at the head.
We also hope the Bike Bureau will help the BBC achieve its goal to become the greenest broadcaster in the world. Since switching from car to bike 2 years ago, Anna has already racked up 10,000 kilometres on her bike while working, massively cutting her emissions.
But we believe there is the potential to do even more. This is just phase one.
We chose the Netherlands as the perfect place to pilot this project. Editorially, we'll be using the Bike Bureau to focus on solutions and track down positive stories and tech developments that could transform our lives.
And that's our show. Find us on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.